Hey kids, this is lesson one, level one. This is not a choose your own adventure. I want to go over these little things in each of the levels because I really feel that this unit is going to kind of tie up everything that we've done throughout the course of the year, especially when working with objects. And I feel that the questions you'll see in this unit are going to be very, very similar to the things that you will see on the free response questions. So I'll try to point out some of the big ideas and important things as we go, and then I will do the choose your own adventure ones as well. Um, but yeah, let's get started. So this is the very first, the predict and run. And so I'm looking at the student runner class, and I notice that there is a primitive Boolean variable that is called enrolled and is set to true. And then I notice that there is a course object called CS course, which is a new course object, and it looks like the course object constructor takes a string object that is called the name, my guess is, and then some sort of a primitive Boolean object, not a Boolean object, I'm sorry, some sort of primitive Boolean variable that is enrolled. And then there's a student object. That student object is named Betsy. And the student constructor appears to take a name. And then it looks like it's taking a course object as the other parameter. So as we go through this, we'll see if we're correct. When I printed it out, now I notice right here, it's printing out Betsy. So there's somewhere there is going to be a two-string method that is printing it out, because when I look at what I printed out, it printed out the Betsy's name, and then it went to a new line and it printed out the class, and it probably had to add in this colon and space, and then it added the value. It must have added enrolled, the word enrolled, based on the value of the Boolean variable. So my guess is there is probably a two-string method for the student object and a two-string method for the course object that will print those out nice and neat. So we'll look at those as we go. So let's look in the student tab. Under the student tab in the student class, there's a private string object variable named name and a private course object variable named new course. And the constructor for the student takes that string object name, and it also takes the course object, which is called new course, as input parameters. And there is a method that is going to drop the course. So it takes the course object and it sets the status of that course object to false. So we'll look at the course object in a second. But if I recall the course object, looking back over here, the course object takes a name and that Boolean variable and whether or not a student is enrolled. So what this is actually doing is just setting that enrollment to false, for example, to drop the course. And remember in the two-string method, there was it printed out the student's name. I'm in the student class, so that's what it's going to print out. It's going to print out the student's name, and then it went to a new line, and then it printed out the new course. And the new course is this object that is being passed to the constructor. So now we'll look at where the new course gets printed out at. So let's look over here at the in the course class. So the course class has two private instance variables, a string object called name, and a Boolean primitive called status. And just like we thought, the course object constructor takes that name and takes that status. And there is a constructor that sets the status of the course. And I think we referenced it over here. We when we dropped a course, we set the status to false. And so that's what's happening over here. That's that setter method. So we are setting the value of that private Boolean instance variable to whatever the new status is. And we said that the course object would have a toString method, and here it is. So when we print out a course string object, it prints out the name of the course, and then it concatenates a colon and a space. And then if the status, in this case, when it says if status, that means is the status true? So if the status is true, it prints out whatever this text is, and it concatenates enrolled. So this is going to have the name plus a colon and a space. Else, if status is not true, that means it's false. It's going to take the student name, the course name, followed by a colon and a space, and it's going to print out dropped. And this returns whatever that text is. All right, kids, that's long, but I want you to get in the habit of trying to read through this and try to read through it quickly and pick up what's happening. I think this will help you as you go along. You guys are like my rubber ducks, and if you need another rubber duck to talk to, let me know.